Hi, Tamaya. Welcome to Ox in Spain. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing well actually as well. It's a nice sunny Monday here in Madrid, so I'm excited.
Oh, it's definitely rainy and cold here in Santander.
Oh, well, yeah, you're up north, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
guess that's
raining
typical.
a lot and cold.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get started then. So
Sure.
first question for you is why did you become an ox in Spain?
I became an ox. I think I might have maybe a little bit of a different path. I went to school to college for finance. And I worked in financial analytics in the finance industry for like 5 years. And during the pandemic and I was just stressed out with my job and things like that, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And I just needed like a change of pace. And I knew that I had always wanted to move abroad, specifically to Europe. I'd always wanted to move to Europe because the first place I ever traveled abroad was here in Santander, Spain, when I was in college. When I was 19, I studied abroad here for a summer. So I started, looking into ways how I could, make this happen. And after doing some research, online like everybody else, online, YouTube, TikTok, stuff like that, I found some programs that I could apply for. And then I ended up coming out here in September of 2022. So, yeah, I would say that's generally why I wanted to become an ox.
Yeah, I understand the wanting to transition out of your career too. So I totally relate to that because that was my
Yeah, a lot of
experience.
people are, at least here, a lot of people are fresh out of college. So that's why I said it's like a different experience because I'm definitely not fresh out of college by any means. But that's cool that as people, or at least people, can see that it's not just something that you have to be like, 21, 22 to do.
Yeah, actually, let's talk a little bit about that because I'm an older ox myself.
Okay.
So what has your experience been like as an older ox, as opposed to kind of the younger 21, 22, fresh out of college
Um,
oxes?
I wouldn't necessarily, well, I don't know. I know I don't party as much as they do. I'm tired. I can't Spain nightlife like, the 3, 4 a.m. Like, I can't make it that long. So for me, I would say maybe that's probably the biggest thing. But the biggest thing I've noticed is that I'm 27. I'll be 28 this year. So the biggest thing that I've noticed living in Spain is that a lot of people, like I say, I'm 27, they say, "Oh, you're really young," but I would never hear that back home in America. I would never hear that 27 is really young. So their view on, even my students, I teach primary, and they're like, "Oh, you're young." I'm like, really? Like, okay, and that's cool. I don't feel old, but I feel like at least in the States, we definitely have a different like view of age. So if anything, being out here has made me feel great about being in my later 20s. So, but yeah, going out, I just can't. I just can't. I do that maybe once a month.
Well, that's more than I do it. Definitely.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's about all I can do. But yeah, it's interesting, but definitely I haven't felt like aged out of anything as I might
Mhm.
have like back home.
Yeah, definitely. I relate to that. Let's dive into the program that you came with. So you came over with RVF International. So maybe you can talk a
Yes.
little bit about that program. What was the application process like? Was it
Ooh,
simple,
okay.
complicated? And then what kind of support did the program give you, if any?
Yeah, I know, I'm trying to think back because yeah, okay. No, I when I was looking at different programs, I know RVF stood out. There was also like, I can't remember if it's Conserva or Conversa Spain. I can't remember.
Conversa
Um
Spain, yeah.
okay, Conversa. I was like, I know it's one of the other CIEE, but that one was quite expensive. So I already knew that one was like not for my budget. Um with me, RVF, basically, I was interested. I sent them an email saying that I was interested. They set up like an interview, giving me like, the information and allowing me to ask any questions I needed. I believe the payment itself, I don't know, like 1,400. But you didn't have to pay that all at once. You kind of did like half and then like another half. Along with the application. What I remember from the application process is basically everything you would need for NowCap, because they apply on your behalf to NowCap. So all of that information. So I remember having to get a letter of recommendation, having to scan in my what do you call it, degree? Having to scan in my degree. Obviously a resume. I mean, I already had a resume. And then they just had an application that you fill out, and then you got to choose your top 3 regions that you would like to get placed. I actually had Cantabria always as my number 1 because I had been out here before. So I wanted to get Santander when I had applied originally. So luckily I got what I had applied for, because I mean, Santander isn't the biggest city, but it is probably the biggest city here in Cantabria. So I did say I wanted Cantabria, but I wanted a bigger city. So I think that's why I lucked out, because not too many people know as much about northern Spain. So, and it's not as popular. So if you put that as your first, you kind of like get to slide in there easier. I would say that the support they provided honestly was really helpful for the first year. When you're a first year, you can ask them a question at any time. They would get back to you about the process, because there's a lot you have to do. You have to get the background check, the fingerprint, the apostle, those kinds of things, all of that paperwork that you have to get. And they definitely do help you all the way through the process. And even when you get placed, they start sending you like apartments on Idealista. I would say towards like August, September, they start sending you apartments you can look at that fit your needs, because we filled out like a questionnaire. We got to fill out a questionnaire about what we were looking for in an apartment and things of that nature. So they were very helpful with like getting here, getting your paperwork together, getting the TIA, everything like that. In renewing, because I'm a second year, obviously there's less you have to do, but I don't want to say they threw us to the wolves, but you can tell that the program is definitely more suited for a first year participant. I didn't need them as much. When I do ask them questions, they come back to me, but we would get like consistent communication as like a first year about different resources that are available and things of that nature that we just don't get. We just don't get those anymore, which I mean, I don't necessarily need them, but I know that there are people who want to apply, for a third year, a fourth year, which RVF doesn't support, but you are allowed to do that within NowCap. So I would say it's definitely good for first year, because there's a lot of paperwork, and I mean, naturally all of it's in Spanish. And things of that nature. But as a second year, I did apply to renew like with them for the help, and I think it was like $500. I honestly think I could have done it on my own. Because I was used to having them, I wanted to have them again. But being that now it's February and we renewed back in, I don't know, we started the renewal process in April of last year, basically. I probably could have done that on my own in hindsight, but that's okay. It's okay.
Well, I mean, that's pretty incredible that they give you so much support. And that's really awesome actually about apartments and them sending you apartment listings. I'm sure that's incredibly helpful.
Yes, because I was
a big stressor.
I was I was like, I'm too old. I want to live alone. I don't want to live with anybody. Yeah. So it was very helpful to be able to get that support as well, because now I knew what to look for. So when I was looking for a new apartment this year on my own without their help, I think I did a good job for myself.
Yeah. Wow, you live alone. Oh, amazing.
Yes. Yes.
That's hard to do in Madrid on the aux
yes.
budget.
Now, yeah, I will say that it's much easier to do in Cantabria. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Congrats on everything.
Thank you.
And now I want to talk a little bit, about your experience as a Black woman. particularly living in Spain and traveling in Spain. I know this is a concern
For
for like
sure.
a lot of people of color. Even like
Yeah.
myself, I'm mixed race, and so like I encountered a
Mhm.
lot of situations my first few years here as well. So yeah, please share anything you would like about your experience here.
For sure. Yeah. I think I get a lot of questions because I do have a YouTube channel, Black Imperial Travel, where I share my travels worldwide, but also, what I do here while living in Spain. And a lot of the questions I'll get on my videos are like, well, how do they treat you out there? I want people to keep in mind that I live in a smaller city. So I don't live in a Madrid, a Valencia, Barcelona. But I see people of color every day. There's not as many, but I see people of color. My biggest issue is the staring. The Spanish stare really annoys me because I don't know if it's like an American thing or if it's like I'm from the South. I don't know if it's a Southern thing, but we find staring to be like very rude. And I just don't like the stares because I'm like, I'm not the only Black person in town. So why are you looking at me like you've never seen someone who looks like me before? Because I know that's not true. It's simply not true because I see other Black people. So I would say that that's probably the biggest thing that annoys me. And then it is harder to find like products and things of that nature for my hair. Those are probably the biggest challenges. But because I speak, I would think, pretty good Spanish, I think once people realize that like I don't just speak English, it's a little bit easier to connect with them and they're like, "Oh," because I think people look at me and they're like, "I know she's not from here, but I don't know if she's like African or if she's American because we have a lot of African people here in town as well." So I think, once I speak Spanish, they're like, oh, okay, we can relate on some level. But yeah, the staring sucks. That probably is what bothers me the most. But I don't let it I stare back sometimes or I just like tunnel vision. It's either one or the other as far as like what I do on a given day, but I wouldn't let that deter you from wanting to experience something else because I mean, Spain isn't the only country I've been to where people stare at me. Virtually every country, and I've been to 25 countries at this point. Virtually every country I've been to, people are staring. So it's like, do you let that deter you from, seeing what you want to see out of the world? Or do you just, know that that's something that could occur and just do it anyway? So I encourage people to just do it anyway because no one's, I've never had any incidents. I've heard some things, but nothing's ever happened to me where people have like thrown things at me, yelled at me, done anything like that, like a assault or anything like no, that's never happened to me at all. But I have heard stories, but that has never happened to me. So I would probably say that's the biggest thing I would want people to like know beforehand. If that's something that you think would be uncomfortable for you, it may not be the best fit for you. But if you think that it's something that you can overcome because at the end of the day, it's not really that big of a deal, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, thanks for sharing about that. I think, when I first came over here, I had to really remind myself we're not just English language assistants, we're English language and cultural assistants,
Right.
and so like a lot of it I realized because I lived up north actually. I lived in Asturias. So it was like
Oh,
right next to you at some point.
yeah, yeah.
And again in like a small town. And because I have Asian features, it was always like the first question people asked me, like what like why do your eyes look like this? And they would pull their
Dude,
eyes.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got that a
I've heard
lot.
that happening to
Yeah.
people too. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened a lot to me. And even in Madrid, it's happened to me as well. And initially I was furious, obviously, because it's like
Right.
so incredibly offensive. But this is my sixth year living in Spain, and I realized that a lot of it just stems from lack of exposure to
Mhm.
other people from other parts of the world.
Right.
because of Spain's history and their borders were closed for so long. And then like culturally, right, they're not seeing people of color so much in media. I mean, now it's different. But back when I lived here like 10 years ago, like that wasn't the case at all. So I have to
Yeah.
like remind myself when I have these situations where it's like, you know, people are just curious and like they just haven't had that experience yet, you know? It's not like in the US, right? Where anyone
Yeah.
can be a doctor, anyone can be a lawyer, anyone can be a teacher, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your ethnicity, right? But here, like it's not the case yet, you know? So I have to I have to
Exactly.
remind myself of that. But I like what you said about not letting it deter people because yeah, it shouldn't. It really like we're here to kind of help, spread that cultural awareness at the end of the day too. So
Right. And, I work with primary. So a lot of the kids, my kids are aged like 3 to 11. So a lot of them just ask me like questions about my hair all the time because like I'll straighten my hair or like I'll wear it now, like I haven't twist. So I don't think they understand the concept of curly hair because I straighten my hair. They'll be like, oh, your hair is long. And then I'll wear it like curly. They'll be like, you cut your hair. And I just say, yeah, I cut my hair. Like certain stuff like that is just to me it's funny because I'm like, don't some Spanish people have curly hair? What do you think happens? But it's okay. Like it's not a big deal. It's just always funny to me, especially like with the kids. Um, but yeah, I do have to tell the kids, I'm like, don't touch me. Love you, but like back up. Like we don't do that. We just don't go touching people. It's different with infantile, of course. Like they touch anything, but in the primary, I'm teaching them boundaries. Like let's not, just reach out and touch my hair today. Let's not do that. So, but like you said, we're here to give them that cultural awareness. And I think at least like this being my second year, it's been a good experience overall for sure.
well, that leads me to my next question. What is your favorite thing about Spain?
Oh man. The quality of life. I think I don't know, maybe it's because like I'm an ox or whatnot, but like it's just not that deep. Like yes, we go to work and we do things, but I think Spanish people are just a lot more lax in general, like especially me coming from like a corporate finance background where everything was very like rigid. Um I just prefer the working culture here in Spain. I love siesta. Um, I love wine. Wine is so cheap here. So like just I feel like people are just a bit more, at least as the relationship like work life balance is definitely a lot more easygoing. And that's what I appreciate the most about living in Spain and just being able to travel. I love traveling even though I don't know. I feel like last year flights were cheaper. This year I don't know. Flights are getting a little bit more expensive than they need to be. something something is wrong, but it's cheaper than like, coming from the States to Europe and things like that. So that and I've been able to meet a lot of different people and just, explore and really just take a nice deep breath and just like really truly enjoy life and not be so consumed by like work all the time or deadlines. I think that that's probably what I've enjoyed the most. I'm going to say something controversial. The food is not my favorite. I know a lot of people are like, I am from the South and I am a Black girl. We do big flavor. And to me, Spanish food is it's hit or miss with the flavor for me. And they don't do any spice, nothing. Even the Mexican food that I've tried here in Santander, like, no, no, I can't. So that's one thing I will say. A lot of people are like, "Oh, don't you just love the food?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And they're like, what do you want? What do you want me to say? Do you want me to lie? No, I it depends. It depends. I'll get a good dish here and there, but I mainly either cook for myself or I will go to like like a Japanese or Chinese. I like the Japanese and Chinese places out here and things like that. But I have a few Spanish restaurants in town that I like, but I just keep it at that. I don't deviate because yeah, I like flavor, seasoning. And that's one thing that we're just lacking. It took me a while to find hot sauce out here too. So different things like that. But but overall, I would say that I really do enjoy living out here, and I'm not renewing. I'm not renewing just because the reality is, as a cultural assistant, we do not make a lot of money. We do not make a lot of money. I knew that going into it naturally. So I, prepared myself for all of that, but I'm not going to be able to do this for a third year. So this year, I'm really like trying to soak up as much as I can because I know that at the end of this, I have to go back home. So it's a bit bittersweet this year for me, but I'm definitely taking my time to enjoy for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing and your honesty. Yeah, and I hope you really get everything you can out of your last few months here.
Yeah, yeah.
And last but not least, where can people find you if they want to follow your adventures?
For sure. On YouTube, I'm Black Imperial Travel. On Instagram, I'm pretty sure it's the same, but it's just like black dot imperial dot travel.
Mhm.
And I also have a website, blackimperialtravel.com. So you can find all my social media links there on my website, but that's where I operate and share my worldview as I go out here and try to, see as much as I can.
Perfect. All right, and I'll be sure to share those links in the description as well. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks so much, Tamaya. It was so nice to meet you and chat with you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.